Freshly spawned into the world of Evrima, our little Carno, Fang, heads north. A solo baby Carno, who would have to learn how to survive on their own or die trying. Our stomach grumbling with hunger, finding something to sustain us was most important right now. Hear that? What luck! A goat bleating nearby, oblivious to the hungry young carnivore passing through. A goat would certainly sustain us until we could find food on our preferred diet. We'd have to find it first, though. Quietly, we walked towards the cover of the forest, listening closely to pinpoint exactly where the bleating was coming from, our natural instincts kicking in. Aha! Goat in sight. Our young Carno charges in, successfully giving the goat quite the surprise. Not quite big enough to do enough damage with our charge attack. The goat uses the cover to its advantage and tries to make a break for it. Early lessons for a young Carno. When food is right in front of you, make your attacks count. Again, we need to rely on our listening skills to pinpoint where the goat ran off to. Tracking the goat through sound, we find it again, giving our charge attack another go for more practice, this time keeping a closer eye on it as it tries to get away, using a mixture of our charge and bites to bring the animal down. Finally, a successful first kill for our little Carno. We'll need to practice our hunting skills more if we are to survive this harsh world we live in. Our stomach now full and starvation no longer a threat, we continue our way north in the hopes of finding fresh water, our preferred diet, and a place to grow. Humidity on our skin, the smell of salt in the air, and the soft sand squishing between our toes. We find ourselves by the ocean. We get to a higher vantage point, trying to see where we need to go from here. Not recognizing anything, we lay down to rest and soak up the warm sunshine while we decide where to head next. As we head back inland, we come across another goat, this time with its baby. When it comes to survival, taking advantage of food every time it presents itself is how you stay alive. The baby goat was no match for us, much easier than the adult we had hunted earlier in the day. With our stomach plenty full, we take this meal to go. A freshwater pond, hidden deep in the woods, surrounded by forest. The perfect spot to spend the night. That is, as long as no dinos or Herreras were already calling this place home. We stash our food in the brush and warily make our way towards the pond, being sure to look above us just in case anything was preparing to leap out of the trees. Not that we'd have seen them easily, even if they were. So far, so good. No Herreras have launched themselves upon us yet. We keep our eyes on the water's surface and listen for any signs of an incoming attack. The sun setting quickly, the last of its light disappearing, leaving only darkness. We drink as quickly as we can, in case a dino lurks in the depths where we can't see. We make our way back to the food we had stashed, now relying on our scent to guide us. Just in case the scent of our food lures in other predators in the area, we move our food to the path, away from where we are bedding down for the night. This spot should do. We bed down for the night, keeping our food in sight. Perhaps we'd get lucky, and something on our preferred diet, ideally not full-grown, would come to eat it. As dawn approached, we awakened to find our food now gone. Perhaps something in the night came and ate it while we slept. We snuck our way towards the pond, keeping hidden in case anything had moved in during the night, looking for any signs of movement and listening for any sounds. Perhaps something would come for a morning drink that we could hunt. With no signs of anybody else in the area, we made our way down to top off on water, not knowing when we'd have a chance to drink again. We leave the pond in search of breakfast, preferably something on our preferred diet. As the sun finally starts to show itself, we find ourselves in a field of more goats. Still not our preferred diet, but food nonetheless, which is always better than starving to death. Our hunting skills still not the best, as we missed the easiest of prey at first, now big enough to eat the whole thing in one bite, and it still leaves us hungry. Thankfully, there are plenty of goats to fill our belly with. Since our hunting skills aren't the best, and our accuracy is definitely not great, we take advantage of the other goats still hanging about to practice our skills on. After our hunting practice for our little Carno, we headed off again in the hopes of finding water access. Perhaps there would be things on our preferred diet hanging around there. There would at least be a safe freshwater drinking spot. Ah, water access. We made it. We would need to go back up and around to get to the shallow drinking spot, though. We came down at the salt rock, and as we looked around, we noticed somebody hiding in the brush right beside us. If they were hunting, they'd have easily caught us by surprise. Another lesson for our young Carno. Stay vigilant. I wasn't sure what they were, or if they were AFK. We thought about killing and eating them right there on the spot, but if they were AFK, I wanted to give them a chance. We three called them, and surprisingly, they got up and moved away. It was another Carno. We apologized for our rudeness with a friendly call and continued on our way to the shallow drinking spot. We do a quick check in the brush behind us, hoping we don't get ambushed while we drink. I've always wanted to try this spot, so we head up into the brush once we're done, trying to sneak down and get into a good position so we could ambush somebody else if they came here for a drink. As we sat there, patiently waiting, we caught scent of something that had died nearby. Not on our diet, but again, we don't pass up food when it's available. Your next meal is never promised. We followed the scent and found a dead pteranodon. By the looks of it, it had been there for a while. We ate it anyways. Sniffing around, we picked up the scent of something else, dead further up. Another pteranodon that had been dead for a while. Perhaps they had run into the trees. Perhaps they were fighting amongst themselves, and both died of their injuries. With no other scents in the air, we headed back towards the lake. As we topped off our water, gollies could be heard nearby. We look around the lake for a bit. It didn't seem too promising here for food, so we decided to head towards highlands. As we made our way towards highlands, the gollies' calls got louder, catching our attention and changing our direction back towards them. As we headed towards them, I remembered how young we still are, and how much gollies love to kick young Carnos. Perhaps trying to hunt gollies at this age wasn't the best idea, especially if there was more than one. We did a quick check to try and get eyes on the gollies, with no luck, so we headed back in the direction of highlands. Yeah, another goat. We'll take it since we are a bit hungry again. Hopefully we could find something on our diet soon. Ah, a deer. Now that's more like it. A lucky dodge. A little more agile than the goats. The gollies called out again. They had made their ways to highlands too. I became all too aware that I wasn't alone here in the highlands, and would need to be more aware and careful, not just of the gollies, but of everyone else that hunted here. Bigger now and with more practice, yet our accuracy is still not great. It's not long before the buck goes down and we have our first meal on our preferred diet, giving us some much needed nutrients. With our stomach now full, we find a bush nearby to hide in, to let our stomach digest a bit before we finish off the deer. Perhaps we'd even get lucky and something else on our diet would come to eat it that we could also hunt. To our surprise, something did come to try and eat our meal. We try to get eyes on it and think it's a young Cerrado. We come charging out of hiding towards it. Only for a rock to be in the way, and we completely miss. Our young Carno's first real hunt that isn't AI, and it's not going great. The Herrera escapes up a tree, three-calling us for probably giving it a jump scare. We three-call back, "Get your own meal." Knowing the Herrera could probably jump on us from the tree, we pretend to take a bite and move away quickly. Our plan worked. The Herrera now out of the tree, we get another chance to practice our hunting skills. Success! Our first non-AI kill, and another meal on our preferred diet. Not hungry enough to eat right now, we drag it back towards the deer we're saving for later too. We place it in sight and hide in another bush nearby. Perhaps we'd get lucky again. Even if we didn't, we now had 2 different meals that provided us with 2 of our needed nutrients in our diet. Things were looking great for our little Carno. As we lay hidden in the brush, our mutation icon starts blinking, meaning we could pick another one. We chose one that refills a little of our water when we eat. Our first one allows our water to drain more slowly. When we had a little room in our stomach, we filled up a bit more on the Herrera, then went back to hiding in the brush, hoping nobody had seen us. Footsteps. A Cerrado, a big one by the sounds of those chomps. It knew we were there and made us sick, losing most of the contents in our stomach. We didn't stick around. It could have our food. We didn't want to become their meal too. Cerrados are always hungry, and we knew the Herrera and deer wouldn't fill them up much, if the deer was even still there. We kept going, leaving a blood trail behind. We didn't dare sit to heal off our bleed. The Cerrado would most likely be looking for us and tracking us down once it had finished off the food we left behind. Our bleeding stopped on its own, and we could hear a boar nearby, which is also on our preferred diet. Since we had lost pretty much everything in our stomach, it was a needed meal. However, it was also back in the direction we had just come from. Risky, considering the Serato could be tracking us. We'd have to make this quick. This time, our attacks were on point, and the boar let out a loud squeal as it fell to the ground. We hoped the Serato wasn't near enough to hear it. The boar had injured us again, breaking open our wounds and making us bleed again, which meant the Serato could easily pick up on our trail. Panic started setting in, as we ate as quickly as possible. The boar now gone, we had to get away fast, just in case. We found a trail and quickly made our way down it, the lighting just right so we couldn't see how treacherous this trail really was. A life short-lived for our little Carno. Thank you for joining me on our little Carno's adventure. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more videos like this. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and until next time, bye-bye!